Hello and welcome to our video on circumference. By the end of this video, you should know what circumference is and be able to use two different formulas for circumference. Let's start with what circumference is. Circumference is to a circle as perimeter was to a polygon. So if you remember back to our polygons, if I had a fairly simple polygon, let's say a rectangle, with side lengths of 5 and 6, if I wanted to find the perimeter of this, I was looking for the distance around it. And to do that, I added up the lengths of all my sides. So this particular perimeter here was 22 units. Well, circumference is going to be very similar to that, except it's going to be for a circle. And since circles don't have sides, we can't just add up all the lengths. We're going to use a formula to figure out the distance around this circle. So the definition of circumference is just the distance around a circle. There are two versions of the formula for circumference. The first is using a radius of a circle. If I was ever given a radius of a circle, I would use the formula circumference is equal to 2 times pi times radius. If I'm ever given a diameter on a circle, and again, remember diameter is the distance all the way across, I'm going to use the formula circumference is equal to pi times diameter. You'll note that these two formulas are really the exact same thing, because in our first formula here, two radiuses, as we learned earlier, is really the same thing as a diameter. If I took this radius plus the second radius over here, two radiuses together would be the same thing as the length of a diameter of a circle. All right, let's try a few examples. Problem number 5. If I want to find the circumference of a circle with a radius of 7 centimeters, I would just use the version of the formula that has radius in it. If you remember, that was circumference is equal to 2 times pi times radius. So what I'm going to do is plug my 7 centimeters in for radius. My circumference would then be 2 times pi times 7 centimeters, which as an exact answer would be 14 pi centimeters. There will be times when I will ask you for an exact answer, and notice this exact answer has a pi still in it. If I want an approximation, I would then take the pi and times it by the 14. So the circumference is approximately 43.98 centimeters if I round to the nearest hundredth. Again, I just took the 14 and times it by pi. And earlier we had learned that pi is about 3.14159. You can use a calculator to just plug that in. Let's try another problem. Problem B here, find the circumference of a circle if the diameter is 12.5 inches. Well, this time we're given the diameter of 12.5 inches, so I'm going to use the version of the circumference formula with a diameter in it. That was circumference is equal to pi times diameter. So in our case, we're going to plug in circumference is equal to pi times the 12.5 inches, which as an exact answer would be circumference is 12.5 pi. Again, you could write this as an approximation as well. Circumference is about 39.27 inches if I round to the nearest hundredth. You should also be able to use these formulas backwards. Let's try part C. In part C, we're told to find the diameter and the radius, and we're given that the circumference is about 136.9 meters. Well, let's start by finding the diameter. Let's use the diameter version of the circumference formula again. Circumference is equal to pi times diameter. This time, though, I don't know the diameter, I know the circumference. So I'm going to plug in my 136 and 9/10 meters in for circumference. And that's going to equal the pi times the diameter. Now I just have an equation to solve. To solve for diameter, I'd have to get rid of the pi. To get rid of a multiplication by pi, I would just divide by pi on both sides. And once I do that, I get about 43.58 meters if I round to the nearest hundredth. Now that I have the diameter, the radius is fairly easy to find. I can just take my diameter and divide by 2, because remember, a diameter is twice as long as a radius. When I do that, I get about 21.79 meters.